Hi guys, we are here today to do a flip through of the Cross Stitch in the Forest book by Max Pigeon, who is the founder of Pigeon Coop. You can also find his patterns on Etsy. So this book, I came across it via Judy, who is now, her channel name is now An Aussie and a Kiwi Go Travelling. So she showed it on one of her videos, and she showed some of the patterns out of it, and I seen the patterns that she showed I fell in love with. So I was straight up, yep, I've got to get it. So this is available. I got this from Amazon. So I'm assuming it's available on Amazon or wherever you can get Amazon. So it has 25 projects in it, and it's a nice little compact book, not quite as big as the Emma Condon books, but yeah. So it arrived pretty quickly, and I have already glanced through it, and there's 25 patterns in it, and I think there's about 25 patterns that I want to stitch. There might be one or two that I'm not real interested in, like the insecty type of ones, but the rest of them I was like, yeah, I want to stitch all these. And the partner was like, well, you don't have to do all of them. And I was like, yes, but these are small and tiny. And I proceeded to flip through them, and he was looking at it with me, and he was like, oh, I like that one, and I like that one, and I like that one. So yeah, I think there's going to be a few in my future, not this year, probably maybe next year or something, I don't know, because they are smaller patterns, so I could just fit them in and get them done whenever. But let's just get on with having a flip through. Across so you can see the whole thing. And I'm sorry about the shine. I do have my ring light on, but it seems to be creating a bit of a shine on the book. There we go. So that is the first page, and then you flip over, and it says, for everyone who's ever planted a tree hoping for a better tomorrow. And then we get to the index page. So you've got your table of contents with your introduction, your must-have supplies, your cross-stitch fundamentals, and then your projects, which are broken up into 5 sort of areas, or yeah. So we've got the introduction. I'll quickly just read through it. Ever since I can remember, I've held deep fascination for forests. As a child, there was no better playground for me than the woods near my house. Hours would slip away as I explored and played among the trees. All this time spent in the forest ignited a sense of curiosity about the natural world that I've carried with me ever since. Today, my connection to forests has evolved. Their beauty and complexity are still an endless source of inspiration as I grow and find my voice as an artist. But perhaps most importantly, forests offer me peace, quietude, and a welcome respite from the bustling world we live in. Since you picked up this book, I can only assume you agree with me and that you too are a friend of the trees. When I first tried my hand at cross-stitch, I discovered a hobby that, in many ways, evokes in me the same feelings I get when visiting a forest. It's not rare that I lose track of time when working on a cross-stitch project, just as I do when I go for a walk in the woods. And the feeling of putting the final stitch on a piece is akin to reaching a beautiful vista at the end of a long trail. It's no wonder that cross-stitch soon became more than a hobby for me. It turned out to be a much-needed outlet for the creative side of my personality. As a designer, I now get to combine my love of nature, my passion for art, and a little of the knowledge I gained throughout my years as a wildlife biologist and educator to create designs that celebrate the beauty of the wild world. This book is, in a way, a love letter to forests that I want to share with you through 25 designs that showcase woodland wonders, stitch by stitch. Let's bring the forest to life, from the majestic giants that tower above all things down to the critters that flutter, crawl, and scamper beneath the canopy. Regardless of your stitching experience, I'm confident that you will find something you'll enjoy creating within these pages. Some of the patterns are on the smaller side, use only a handful of colours, and can be completed quickly. Others are more intricate, used varied stitches, and will keep even experienced stitchers busy for many hours. They all vary in terms of size and complexity. Each project is inspired by the magnificence of forests of all kinds and the beings they shelter. As you use thread and needle to create the projects in this book, I hope you also take a moment to reflect on the roles that forests play in your own life. Perhaps a design will remind you of a special moment in the woods or a lucky animal encounter. Or maybe you simply enjoy the tranquility forests evoke, and it is my wish that you find a similar sense of calm when stitching the patterns I created. Join me on a journey through the woods, and let's immerse ourselves together in the wonderful world of forests, at least for a few hours of stitching. So we flip over, and it goes through the must-have supplies. So it just tells you a little bit about your threads, and then you flip again and it tells you about your fabric, your different types of fabric: Aida, even weed, fiddler's cloth, and linen. Once again, you go over to the next page and it gives you a handy guide on calculating your fabric size. And then you've got your hoops, your different types of hoops and frames: embroidery hoops, clamped or snap frames, scroll frames, and embroidery stands. Notions, so just explains about your needles, your scissors, your needle minders, and your bobbins. And then it goes into your cross stitch fundamentals. So it just tells you about reading a pattern and the type of stitches that you will find in the book. So it says the designs in this book will feature a combination of the following 3 types of stitches, which will be explained in detail in the following pages. And so you have your full cross, you have your half cross, or your 3/4 stitch, and back stitching and stuff like that. And then it tells you how to start stitching, so how to anchor your threads, how to make your full cross, and making a single stitch, then making a full row of stitches, and then of course finishing off your row stitches. It tells you how to do 3/4 stitch, back stitch, and any other stitches that you may come across, not particularly in this book but in other patterns. And then it just gives you a little note on finishing, how you can finish in a hoop. It gives you some diagrams here on how to do that as well. And then we're on to the projects. Time to get to the best part of this book, the projects. The designs in the following pages are grouped in different themed sections. Some patterns feature specific types of forests, while others depict scenes or creatures you may encounter among the trees. Each project includes a list of all DMC thread colors used in the pattern, as well as the number of stitches per color. Also included is information about the stitch count and finish size of the design, mainly on 14 count Aida. For each pattern, I give a recommendation on the color of fabric I feel works best for the design. This also matches the fabric on which the model in each photo is stitched. Finally, every project includes the suggested number of strands to use. Don't be too worried if you don't have the exact thread or fabric colors the patterns call for. The beauty in stitching forest and nature scenes is that they are very forgiving and will look stunning even if you switch a few colors. I strongly encourage you to use the supplies you already have in your stash and to get creative with your choices. On that note, it's time to enter the forest and stitch its wonders. And the first section that we arrive at is among the pines. What better place to start our journey than in the largest intact forest in the world, the majestic Boreal Forest. Like a green crown sitting atop Earth's head, the Boreal Forest, also known as the taiga, circles our planet's northern hemisphere and covers a tenth of its landmass with evergreen beauty. Blanketed by towering conifers such as pines, spruces, and firs, the Boreal Forest may seem like an inhospitable place to us humans. However, its boughs and branches shelter many woodland creatures, including some of North America's largest mammals. The projects in this section celebrate the imposing trees of the Boreal Forest and some of its most iconic residences. And we flip over to the first one, called Boreal Bounty. Now, each pattern has a little sort of blog type of thing there. I'm not sure if I want to really read all of them, but there's just some little facts and stuff there he's included as well, like this little fact here down in the green. Says, did you know the Boreal Forest is constantly being reshaped and regenerated by natural events like fires, storms, disease, and insect pressure? Most of its trees are less than 100 years old, which makes it a young forest compared to the ancient woods and old-growth forests found in more temperate regions. So, picture. I'm trying to find I have some little tags that I usually put on the ones that I want to stitch, but I don't think I've actually got them, and I think they may be, or do I have some in this one? No. Alright, I was just going to mark them as I each one that I wanted to do, but I'll just go through and do that again later. So that one, the first one is Boreal Bounty. And it is only 79 stitches by 79 stitches. So it's not very big. It's not a huge pattern. And he's stitched it on 14 count fiddler's cloth, which from what I understand, your Zygwite, what's that one I'm using? Rustico is a very similar fabric to your fiddler's cloth. So yes, it's not very big at all, and it only has 6 colors in it. So yeah, I'm just trying to get the pages that so I don't flip, because the pages are in between, like the pattern, so I don't flip the pattern and give you a sneak peek. So we'll flip over to the next one. Deer Trail. And once again, it has the little log there. Whenever I find myself in a forest, I'm always hopeful for the chance to see some of the animals that call it their home. Every snap of a branch and every crunch of dead leaves is potential wildlife sighting. Catching a glimpse of a deer furtively escaping through the trees is especially thrilling. Next time you're in the woods, keep your eyes peeled and you may well be able to spot some elusive creature. So this one is only 55 centimeters wide by 55 stitches wide by 90 stitches high, and it only has 4 colors in it altogether. So it's not massive. Again, not a huge project at all. Flip over and we go to Spruce Trio. Spruce Trio is a simple design meant to celebrate trees as individuals, while a forest is a connected, balanced ecosystem that is greater than the sum of its parts. Each one of the trees that compose it is unique and plays a distinct role. So once again, it only has 4 colors. And the good thing I've found is he's included here beside, I'll just bring it up closer to there we go. Beside your color list, he's included how many stitches of each is in, like, required of each of the colors. So that's kind of handy. Now this one is only 59 stitches wide by 59 stitches high, and it is stitched on an off-white Aida. So that is just a tiny, like, depends on how quick you stitch. You could probably knock that over in a couple of hours. Eagle Ravine. And now this is these are ones that my partner liked. I've always been fascinated by birds of prey, and eagles in particular. Their strength, beauty, and flying abilities never fail to leave me in awe. I often wonder what a forest looks like from the eagle's perspective. I'm sure the view up there is breathtaking. So each of them are only 50 stitches wide by 50 stitches high. So once again, not huge. They only measure just over 9 centimeters each. And he stitched them on black Aida. I reckon you could do them on a really dark navy Aida. They do have 11 colors. But that's for both of them. And these you could either stitch separately or you could stitch on the one piece of fabric, I would think, and then just finish them off however you think would work. Forest bathing. I really like this one. Yeah. I don't know, it just appeals to me, this one. A pair of moose slowly treading through a marsh, a backdrop of conifers in countless shades of green, a yellow sun slowly rising in the morning sky. Can you think of a more iconic boreal forest scene? I named this pattern forest bathing as a nod to the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, I think I pronounced that correctly, which is the intentional act of spending time in nature to improve one's mental health and to lower stress levels. Of course, you and I already know that cross-stitching also offers these same benefits. So, this one is a little bit bigger. It's 117 stitches wide by 90 stitches high, and he recommends doing it on a forest green Aida. Sorry about that. And the project only measures just over 21 centimeters by 16 centimeters. So again, they're not huge, and it's not like it's full coverage stitching either, because your moose here aren't stitched. And there's all your colors there. So there's there's about 13 colors in that one. just because I think this one goes over a couple of, yes it does, goes over a couple of pages. All right, and now we're on to the next section, and it is called Into the Glade. Glades are the stuff of fairy tales. In the stories of my childhood, it was common for the hero to happen upon a little house in a forest clearing, often a safe haven from the dangerous dark woods. In reality, glades don't harbour fantastical creatures and good witches, but they are pretty magical nonetheless. Because the limited tree cover allows for a greater deal of sunlight to reach the ground, glades and clearings are refuges for a wide array of animals and plants that thrive in sunny meadows and bright wetlands. Let's leave the shade of the forest itself and explore the brightness of glades in this next chapter. If you happen to have a stash of colourful needlework fabric at home, it may be time to dig through it. Some of the projects that follow lend themselves well to being stitched on brightly coloured fabric, and the thread colours of the patterns themselves can be adapted to match your choice of background. And there's a sample of some of the ones that are included in this chapter. So the first one is Duck Pond. Can't you just hear the quacks of the ducks taking flight in the background of this piece? When I was young, one of my favourite activities was to explore ponds and marshes. I loved observing ducks feed, looking for frogs and tadpoles, watching turtles sun themselves, or trying to find a beaver lodge. Now, this one's only 80 by 80 stitches. It recommends ecru or beige Ada, and it is only 14, it only measures 14.5 by 14.5, but that is on 14 count. Remember, all of these dimensions are on 14 count. So if you go to 16, 18, 20 count, of course, they're going to be a little bit smaller. The Misunderstoods. Now, this is one that I probably won't stitch. I'm not a real creepy crawly type of person. I don't really it's not something that I'd hang in my house, and I don't really know anyone that would hang it up if I did stitch it. The Misunderstoods. Not all crawlies are creepy. Sure, they may not be the cutest, and you may think that some are downright repulsive, but each one of the critters in this design inspired by a real-life counterpart that is beneficial to the forest ecosystem. While some help aerate the soil and decompose organic matter, others play a role in pollination or in the control of pest populations. So, if you stitch it like this, as the one, it is 90 stitches wide by 90 stitches high. And you've got your ID key here. I mean, you could just stitch, like if you know a little boy who is absolutely obsessed with spiders or something, you could probably just stitch these onto a shirt or something like that with a bit of waist canvas, I think they call it. So you do have your ID key here. So you've got A is your black ant, B is your housefly, C is a praying mantis, D is your ground beetle, E orb weaver spider, F a pill bug, where are you? Over here. G is your millipede, H is a wolf spider, I is a damselfly, and J is the assassin bug. So, yeah, you could quite easily just stitch each bug individually if that's what you wanted to do. On to the next pattern, Trees Company. At the edge of the woods is a rich habitat teeming with creatures of all kinds, but it seems that nature knows how to keep quiet when humans are around. Whenever I'm on a hike, I can't help but wonder how much more alive the woods would be were I not there at all. What critters are hiding just out of sight, waiting for me to leave to show themselves. And this one is only 60 stitches wide but 86 stitches high. And it's only got 4 colors in it. And he has stitched this on an off-white Aida, but you could stitch it on probably a blue or something like that. Just to contrast with that, with those greens. And this one actually has 3/4 stitches in it. It tells you here under number of strands. It tells you how many strands to use. Most of them have only had full stitches or back stitching. I think this is the first one that I've seen that says it's got 3/4 stitches in it. Next one is Heron at Dawn. Here's my idea of a perfect morning. I'm at a lake near my house, sitting comfortably in my trusted kayak. There's not another human in sight as I sip my coffee and watch the sun rise slowly above the treetops. If it's a lucky day, I'll be able to spot 1 or 2 great blue herons standing at the edge of the water, immobile, waiting for their breakfast to swim by. And if they feel especially generous that morning, they'll allow me to watch as they take off, spreading their enormous wings and slowly gliding away, leaving me in a complete awe that such majestic creatures exist. So as you can see, this one is a very simple pattern. So 63 stitches wide by 103 stitches high. And it does only have full stitches and back stitching in it. Not sure if I would stitch this one. I like it, but I'd probably leave it to one of the last ones that I stitched because it's not calling to me as much. I don't know if it's because it's on the blue fabric. I'd maybe attempt to put it on a different colored fabric, possibly. All right, so next we have fox and butterflies. Now, I know there has been 1 or 2 people that I've seen stitch this, and it was one of the ones that I fell in love with. As soon as I seen it, I was like, oh my God, where can I get that from? So, yeah. The very first pattern I designed when I started my journey in the world of cross-stitch was a red fox. My style has evolved greatly since those first days, but I still enjoy creating foxes now just as much as I did back then. There is something about their striking looks, elegance, and cleverness that make them great subjects to illustrate. And this one is only 56 stitches wide by 79 stitches high. But yeah, look at that. Isn't it? I just adore this pattern. It's so cute. Like the little fox there, sitting there, watching the butterflies. All right, on to the next chapter, which is called Thriving Woodlands. The rapping sound of a woodpecker foraging erupts from the canopy above. A flicker of blue feathers catches the corner of your eye and disappears between the branches. An acorn drops from an old oak tree, hitting your shoulder before it rolls away in the bushes. The breeze brings along the damp, sweet smell of fallen leaves and impending rain. There's no mistaking it. You've found yourself in a temperate forest. Lucky you. Temperate forests experience warmer temperatures than those at higher latitudes. In some places, this gentler climate allows for the growth of deciduous trees, those that lose their foliage in autumn. In other locations, the growing conditions are such that the largest trees on earth are able to flourish. In my humble opinion, some of nature's most breathtaking views are found in temperate forests. Can you think of a better way to spend a sunny October day than by visiting a forest ablaze in fiery colours? A forest-themed cross-stitch book wouldn't be complete without designs featuring the bountiful life and beautiful landscapes of deciduous forests and ancient woods. And surprise, this is exactly what you'll find in this next chapter. Autumn Drizzle. Autumn has to be my favourite season. The air is fresher, it's a time for new beginnings, and most importantly, it's also when forests start donning their gorgeous fall colours. Of course, the arrival of autumn is also synonymous with cloudy days and rain showers. There is beauty in the greyer days of fall, and they too deserve to become stitched scenes. So this is another one that I fell in love with. And it is 84 stitches wide by 85 stitches high. It has been stitched on an off-white Aida, but you could do it on something a bit different, maybe a light orange, to sort of tie in with these oranges in them. And this one also has a full and 3/4 stitches along with some back stitching. Onto the mighty oak. Somehow I always think of oak trees as the guardians of the forest. Something about their powerful trunks, sprawling branches reminds me of wise old beings standing watch and protecting the woods around them. It may also have to do with the fact that oak trees are considered keystone species in the forest they inhabit. Many other plants and animals depend on them for survival, and the forest would change drastically were oak trees to disappear. So this one is 69 stitches wide by 70 stitches high, and it has been stitched on fiddler's cloth. And as I said, it looks very much like the Rustico that I am using for one of my pieces that I'm currently stitching on. A rowdy jay. Of all the critters that call temperate forests their home, blue jays are undeniably among the most recognizable. With their striking blue feathers, their loud call, and their rambunctious nature, they sure know how to make their presence known. And this one is only 60 stitches wide by 72 stitches high, and it's also been stitched on fiddler's cloth. Passing time. Now this is one that I looked at and I was like, this could be interesting. I have been sort of getting into the seasonal patterns a little bit more. Only problem is, living in Australia, seasonal patterns tend to differ from our seasonal patterns most of the time. Autumn patterns tend to have or focus on pumpkins and Thanksgiving and Halloween, where we don't really celebrate those things over here because our autumn falls in the March, April, May. No. Yes, March, April, May months of the year. That's when our autumn is. So it's not really Thanksgiving sort of time. But this one doesn't have any of those typical seasonal things that go with it, like Christmas. Christmas for us is hot and sweaty, and yeah, but most Christmas or most winter scenes include Christmas because that's what happens in the Northern Hemisphere. So, passing time. Regardless of what's going on in our ever-changing world, if one thing is for sure, it's that winter will eventually turn into spring and the cycle will continue. I find myself privileged to live in a place where I can truly experience the beauty of all four seasons. Seasonal changes keep things interesting and they always give us something to look forward to. I enjoyed designing a different sky for each of these seasonal scenes. Although I split these patterns into 4 individual vignettes, I think they would also look great if stitched side by side in one long rectangular piece. So each pattern is 39 stitches wide by 59 stitches high. So they're not huge. So they only measure around about 7 centimeters by 10 centimeters each. So they're tiny. And he gives you the colours for each individual season. So if you only wanted to stitch 1 or 2 of the seasons, then that's all you have to do. Woodpecker at work. We stitchers can appreciate the hard work of all other makers and artisans, even those in the animal kingdom. With a chisel-like bill that can pry off bark and drill precise holes into tree trunks, the woodpecker deserves to be awarded the title of Master Crafter of the Forest. So it is 90 stitches wide by 90 stitches high and has been stitched on a celadon green Aida. And you could go probably a little bit darker if you wanted to, or maybe even a different colour. Sequoia Falls, home to the largest trees in the world, the redwood forest of North America, are truly a sight to behold. Some of the behemoths found in these woods are thousands of years old and reach dizzying heights of more than 300 feet, or 100 meters for those elsewhere. Due to their massive size, most sequoias and redwood trees are too large to photograph, and I wanted to give the same effect in this design. Having the trees extend beyond the boundaries of the hoop gives the illusion that they may very well never end. So it measures 120 stitches wide by 119 stitches high. It's been stitched on fiddler's cloth, but it is fairly well full coverage. There's not a lot of cloth actually showing through there. And it does use a full and 3/4 stitches. And we're on to the next chapter, the Great North. You may want to grab a pair of mittens before you leaf through the next few pages, because the patterns in this chapter are inspired by the cold, wild forests of the north. Although we may think of northern woods as sparse and devoid of life, in reality it's quite the opposite. Many plant and animal species have adapted to life in colder climates, and they thrive in snowy conditions that may seem uninviting at first glance. If you're looking for a project to stitch on a piece of crisp white Aida, or if you're anxiously waiting to use cool-toned threads, then the designs in this section, which showcase the striking landscapes and imposing creatures of Arctic forests, might be just what you were hoping for. Blizzard Valley. This is another one that drew my eye. I really like the look of this one. There is no such thing as bad weather if you're wearing the appropriate gear. Exploring a forest in winter reveals a whole new world, and only those of us brave enough to step outside in the middle of winter can experience the crisp, fresh air and the serene stillness that snowy landscapes offer. It is only 84 by 84 stitches. And just done on plain white Aida. There is not a lot, and that's because the snowflakes are not stitched, so the white Aida allows that illusion of the snow. Like any of the white actually on this pattern is not stitched, so that's why white Aida would be the best for this one. Snow Queen. Although we might associate snowy owls with barren tundra and Arctic landscapes, that can also be found at the edge of the northernmost forest. If you've ever had the chance to meet the piercing gaze of a snowy owl in the wild, consider yourself lucky. They are quite rare and are considered a vulnerable species. So it's only 100 stitches wide by 50 stitches high. And as I said at the start, all of these are stitched on 14 count Aida, so they're not huge. They're not huge even on 14 count Aida. So on anything smaller, they're going to be smaller again, aren't they? Okay, Fraser Fur. Now this one is very simple and would be a super quick stitch. If there's ever a tree that's synonymous with winter, it's the Fraser Fir. Its resilience to climates makes it the perfect emblem of snowy landscapes and northern woods. The Fraser Fur is native to the Appalachian Mountains, where it is now considered an endangered species. If you've ever adorned your home with a Fraser Fur during the winter holidays, it was most likely a cultivated tree whose ancestor was once proudly standing in a northern forest. And it is 62 stitches wide by 81 stitches high. And of course 62 stitches would be the widest part. So Winter Walk. Now my partner really liked this one, so I'll probably be stitching it sooner or later. Have you ever found yourself face to face with a bear while on a forest walk? I have, and let me tell you, it's a humbling experience, a somewhat nerve-wracking encounter that serves as a reminder that a forest is a wild place that warrants the respect of any human who decides to visit it. I still occasionally walk the same trail I encountered the bear on, but I'm now definitely more alert and I keep my wits about me. That's one thing in Australia. We don't have bears. Yes, we've got kangaroos and koalas and dingoes and all of those other weird, wonderful creatures, but we do not have bears. And this one is 60 stitches wide by 80 stitches high. Flight of the flock. Every spring, millions of snow geese leave their wintering grounds in the southern United States and Mexico to travel north toward the Arctic Circle, where they breed. During their great migration, they fly above every type of forest found in North America, owe to be a goose and fly along, following the wind and seeing the changing landscapes. It must be a wonderful voyage. And it is 70 by 70 stitches. And we're into, I think this is the last chapter of the book. Nighttime Wonders. A forest at night is a different place. A new cast of creatures comes alive, going about their business under the glinting stars. Few of us dare visit the forest at night, and understandably so. But in not doing so, we are perhaps depriving ourselves of some of its most spectacular displays. With these projects, let's celebrate the mystery and beauty of forests at nightfall and perhaps catch a glimpse of the abundant life that thrives in the woods under the cover of darkness. The designs in this section are all stitched on black fabric, although it's a tad more difficult to work with. I find that dark Ada provides a striking background and really makes colours pop. To make stitching on darker cloth more enjoyable, try having a light source like a tablet behind the fabric. The light will shine through the holes and make them easier to find. Upon a Star. I loved this one. So this one may be one of the first ones that I stitch. A wolf howling at the moon is the epitome of a wilderness scene. With this design, I wanted to stray from this idea a little by making the wolf look to the sky for another reason. I wonder what he wishes for. And it is 68 stitches wide by 96 stitches high. Aurora. I can't possibly write a chapter about nighttime in the forest without including the enigmatic northern lights. I consider myself lucky to have witnessed this phenomenon once in my life, and it's certainly a goal of mine to see the auroras again soon. And it is 80 by 80 stitches high, and it's done in purples, but you could do it in, you could change some of these colors out to greens and pinks to match more the aurora colors if you wanted to. Mothley Crew. Now I probably wouldn't really stitch this one either, but Although I am a butterfly enthusiast, there is something I find captivating about moths. Perhaps it's the fact that there is an element of mystery to these nighttime flutterers. Their role in the forest often goes unnoticed, but it is believed that for every species of butterfly, there are 10 times the number of moths that play just as crucial of a role pollinating plants as their daytime counterparts do. And it is 87 stitches wide by 87 stitches high. And then we have a Lakeside Twilight. I really liked this one too. I sometimes wonder if all the wild creatures that call forests their home also enjoy watching the sun as it sets every night. Do they also take a moment to appreciate the warm colours of the sky as the sun dips below the horizon? Do they also smile when they hear the call of a loon in the distance? Do they also feel as fortunate as I do to live in a world where such beauty exists? And it is 80 stitches wide by 55 stitches high. And that is all of the patterns in the book. He's just got some acknowledgements there. Thanks his sample. Cut his teeth. Or not. Sorry if that was really loud because you've got earbuds in. So yeah, it's just the acknowledgements, just the last few things in the back of the book about the author. So you can follow him on Instagram at Pigeon Coop Designs, or you can visit the pigeoncoopdesigns.com website. As I said, he is also on Etsy. I love this book. Looking at some of his other patterns on Etsy, I really hope, like, these patterns aren't available on his Etsy store. They're only available in the book that I could see from looking through. So I'm really hoping some of his other patterns on Etsy are like whales and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that he is working on another book, but on that side of things. And then, yeah, you've just got your index at the back. So you can find everything. But yeah, that is a flip through of the cross stitch. What's it called? Cross Stitch in the Forest book by Max Pigeon. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you've seen some designs in there that you would like to stitch. And if you would like to stitch it, go on to Amazon and get it. I absolutely love this book. So some of these will be in my future stitching. All right, guys, I will leave it as that. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching this Flosstube Extra, and I will see you in my next update or whatever next video that I might actually do. All right, guys, wherever you are in the world, please take care and stay safe, and until next time, bye for now.